Hello, my name is Marziya and I am the lecturer of psychology in AYJNISD National Institute of Speech and Hearing Disabilities, Viziantal, Mumbai. Today, we will be covering the topic of classical conditioning. We'll also be covering the Pavlov's experiment, the steps in classical conditioning, the outline of Pavlov's experiment, and processes during conditioning. What exactly is classical conditioning? It is also known as Pavlovian or respondent conditioning. It was discovered by Ivan Pavlov, who is a Russian physiologist. In simple terms, when two stimuli are linked together to produce a new response, it is what is classical conditioning. Let's look into the Pavlov's experiment for the sake. Classical conditioning was developed by Ivan Pavlov. In this experiment, he tried to pair a neutral stimulus with an unconditioned response. Let's see how he does that. Initially, when he used to serve food to his dogs, they used to salivate just by looking at it. When he rang a bell, they did not respond to it. But when he rang the bell just before serving them food, they started to associate the bell with food and started to salivate. So whenever he used to serve them food, he used to ring a bell, then show them food, and that is how they gained an association of the same. Whenever then he used to ring a bell, they used to salivate, and that is how classical conditioning was developed. Let's look into a more detailed explanation for it. The steps in classical conditioning involves before conditioning, during conditioning, and after conditioning. Before conditioning, the unconditioned stimulus, that is the food, produces an unconditioned response, that is salivation from the dogs. During condition, when a neutral stimulus, that is the bell, is associated with the unconditioned stimulus, that is the food, is now known as the conditioned stimulus. After conditioning, the conditioned stimulus, the bell, has been associated with the unconditioned stimulus, that is the food, to create a new conditioned response, that is salivation. Let's look it into a more detailed format. Here, as we can see, that the dog is salivating just by looking at the food. The food here is the unconditioned stimulus, and the salivation is the unconditional response. And when a neutral stimulus comes into the picture, which here is a bell, the dog does not respond to it. During the conditioning process, when the unconditional stimulus and the neutral stimulus are paired up together, that is when the dog has an unconditioned response. It is now making an association of food along with the bell, and that is how a conditioned response is developed by the dog of salivation. Here the bell becomes a conditioned stimulus, and whenever the bell will ring now, the dog will salivate. That is how the association was formed. Let's look at the outline of Pavlov's experiment. Before conditioning, along with the food, that is the unconditioned stimulus, the unconditioned response, salivation, was seen. After conditioning, the bell became the conditioned stimulus and salivation became the conditioned response. Let's look at the processes during conditioning. Generalization. It is when behavior occurs in presence of other stimulus similar to the conditioned ones. Discrimination is learning to discriminate between main conditioned stimulus and other related stimulus. Extinction is fading of desired behavior on repeated presentation of conditioned stimulus without associating with unconditioned ones. Spontaneous recovery is if after extinction the unconditioned stimulus is being associated again with the conditioned stimulus, behavior reoccurs immediately. Let's look into it with an example. Taking the Pavlov's experiment as an example, if the dog salivate on the sound of the bell, it is generalization. If they salivate on all sounds of the bell, irrespective of the source of it, it is generalization. But if they know how to discriminate between a school bell or a doorbell or a phone bell, that is discrimination. If they only salivate at the sound of the doorbell and they know, okay, now the food is coming on the sound of the doorbell and not on the sound of the phone bell, is discrimination. Extinction is when the bell is rung again and again and the food has not been served. The dog started to break the association that the food will come along after the bell is rung, and hence they will eventually stop to salivate at the sound of the bell. That is fading. Spontaneous recovery is if after extinction has been completed, the bell is again rung and the food has been given together with the bell, they will start to salivate. That is spontaneous recovery, that the conditioning is back. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, please drop it down to the email ID given below. Have a good day.